I've been saying for over half a decade now that the problem with Black Clover's anime was never the staff, it was always the terrible production schedule brought on by a clueless production committee. Well, it looks like the production committee finally picked up on a clue and decided to let Black Clover staff cook for once. And you know what we got? An absolute banger! Clover, Sword of the Wizard King is finally out, and it far eclipsed the immense hype it already had. This movie was something truly special. From the insanely well animated fights to the heartfelt character moments brought on by a group of antagonists that were far better than anyone had expected. Though I feel like this movie could have used a bit more runtime, it truly maximized the screen time it had, and by the end of it, I was left in awe. Sword of the Wizard King is about a slightly insane fella named Conrad Leto, who was the Wizard King before Julius Novachrono. The movie starts off with him getting sealed by Julius 10 years ago, and it's immediately apparent that Conrad used to be a good man before he went totally insane, and that he was rather close with Julius, who had to seal him because, you know, he wanted to genocide everyone. 10 years and an elf stabbing later, Julius is just a wee lad, which releases the seal on Conrad and allows him to return with the Imperial Sword, which is a legendary magic item from Lumiere's time that allows for the absorption, storage, and release of an immense amount of magic, while also containing the magic of past Wizard Kings and a part of their souls. This sword allows Conrad to bring back 3 other former Wizard Kings in Jester, Edward, and Princia Funny Bunny, which is the greatest last name of all time, I will hear no less. Upon introduction, it's immediately apparent that these 4 Wizard Kings are complete fucking monsters that require a whole cavalry to even contest against, which I'm very thankful for, since I was worried that the Wizard King title might have been done a little bit of injustice when I heard that this many of them were going to come back. Thankfully, this wasn't the case at all, and even with genius teamwork, the former Wizard Kings still easily overwhelmed most of the Clover Kingdom's strongest. Before Asta and Co know it, the arena they were fighting in turns into a castle in the sky, with some of their dear captains trapped in, while the former Wizard Kings are getting ready to release an amount of magic that would basically cull the entire planet. Naturally, they can't let this sit back and happen, so they devise a plan using all of their heads and come up with a cunning strategy to draw away some of their opponents so that they can save the captains and stop imminent destruction. Normally, I wouldn't really be moved by this kind of plot, but the expertly written characterization for everyone involved in the movie made it so compelling. Let's talk about the antagonist first. Although Conrad's the only one of the 4 to get proper focus on their backstory and motivations in the movie, it's still very easy to see where they're coming from. All of them were fighting for equality in the Clover Kingdom, which ultimately led to their downfall due to plotting by the Clover Kingdom's shitty elites. It's hard to really hate them when you see their loved ones being murdered due to their desire for equality, even if it is shown in glimpses for someone like Edward. They're also super entertaining as well, especially Jester, who is the first voice acting role for famous actor Fumiya Takahashi, which is pretty hard to believe considering this man killed it on Jester. He was so charismatic and his little clips during his fights were great. As for Conrad, I mean, he's simply incredible given the amount of screen time that he had. The parallel between him and Asta is set up immediately, with both of them sharing the phrase of never giving up is my magic. We get to see through flashbacks how he used to be a kind man that became twisted due to being discriminated against because of his thief-like key magic and the death of his spouse. He's much like Asta when it comes to being discriminated against due to his power, and he's a glimpse into what Asta could have become if he didn't have the support network in the Black Bulls and a Wizard King like Julius pushing for equality. The ideological clash with Asta during their final fight, where they argue about how to bring about equality, was amazing as well, especially when both sides brought up decent points, you know, apart from Conrad's genocide. Asta arguing that Wizard Kings serve as motivation for others and can bring about change since he can see their society changing in front of his eyes, versus Conrad arguing that the Wizard Kings are useless since they couldn't bring about change for so long, was very interesting to hear. Morally, Asta's obviously correct, but you know, Conrad was sort of cooking too. I mean, the royals did straight up wipe a peaceful race off of the planet in the elves. Despite only being a movie antagonist, Conrad's easily one of the best in Black Clover, and his conclusion was
nice.
The protagonists had their equal share of good moments, and it would take forever to go down all of them, so I'll just focus on Noelle and the Black Bulls. They were all seriously done justice despite limited screen time, and Noelle wasn't constantly tsundere like she was in the anime. We get to see her standing up for her brother, explain the struggles she went through and how her own ideology changed over time, and see her overall as a fantastic leader. She spent most of the movie away from Asta and really blossomed into her own throughout this film, and her talk with Edward at the end of their fight was phenomenal. The Black Bulls' interactions were done really well despite being limited, and small moments like Noelle hugging Vanessa like she was her elder sister were seriously heartwarming. Mario Leona had amazing character moments as well, and you can tell that the staff are a huge fan of her given how visually stunning her fight was, and the fact that she had a solo fight against one of the Wizard Kings. Her moment of getting back up after realizing that she would be left behind by the others was incredible, and honestly, I didn't really know I needed a moment from her that badly. And Asta, he's the GOAT, what else can I say? You know too, I love their dynamics so much, and one of my favorite parts of the movie was when Yuno was starting to lose his cool, and Asta immediately reassured him without speaking a single word. As for the visuals, this movie is simply gorgeous, from the insanely well-drawn backgrounds to the stunningly good digital compositing. Most frames of Sword of the Wizard Kings were breathtaking. I seriously wasn't expecting the backgrounds to look this polished, and each of the landscape shots were straight up wallpaper material. The huge step up in compositing is immediately apparent as well, as it never really was a strength of Black Clover during its anime, given that Periot's in-house compositing team was busy with series like Boruto. However, Sword of the Wizard King took extra time in this department, as we could see in the difference between trailers, and it was truly worth it. The spells popped a lot more than it usually did in the anime, and instead of looking flat, it it looked truly magical. I don't even need to mention how fantastic it was during the final conflict between Asta and Conrad. I mean, you can see it for yourself. Animation was superb as well. The fight choreography in general was perfect. Swordplay with Jester, Asta, and Conrad was superbly animated, and I really liked all the different perspective shots along with the circling camera shots as well. It was also impact frames galore in the final stretch of the movie, leading to some very flashy sequences. This movie is seriously some eye candy, which is to be expected given the stacked staff. We got appearances from Black Clover's savior and Tatsuya Yoshihara, who directed the final part of the movie. There were also appearances from legendary animators like Masaki Endo, Masashi Kudo, Hironori Tanaka, Kai Igarashi, and more. With all of these fantastic elements combined, I can gladly say that Black Clover, Sword of the Wizard King is easily one of my favorite anime films, especially when speaking about battle shonen ones. I've already watched it a bunch of times, and I can't really see myself ever getting tired of it. Even if you aren't a fan of Black Clover, I still recommend it since it's an absolute thrill to watch. The movie's doing extremely well on Netflix as well, which means that there's an even higher chance of the anime's return being greenlit. Imagine this kind of animation during the Spade invasion. Woo! I need it.